Hello there, this is John Franquez, and in the presidential series, we are on president number 10, John Tyler. Look at that old man right over there. He became president because he was William Henry Harrison's vice president. Remember that William Henry Harrison died after 30 days and John Tyler became president. And everybody was wondering, well, what do we do? I mean, do we have another election? Is he a president? What is he? He said, I'm the president. Anyway, I mentioned in the past Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren was the first of a series of one-term presidents. We had a really bad time of bad presidents and one-termers all the way up to Abraham Lincoln finally. And I mentioned that Martin Van Buren's problem was he was too political. Well, John Tyler was not political enough. Let's talk about him. He was born in Virginia, and at 7 years old, his mother died, and when he was in school, he actually locked his teacher into the closet, tied him up, and all of that as a prank. His father was Thomas Jefferson's roommate. He owned slaves, but he found that slavery was immoral. He believed in state rights. He didn't believe in a strong federal government. He didn't believe in the national bank, but he did believe in expansion, that the country would grow as much as possible. He believed in Andrew Jackson. As governor of Virginia, he eulogized Thomas Jefferson in Thomas Jefferson's funeral. He married a woman named Letitia Christian, and they had 8 kids. They were married for 30 years. He got remarried later on and had another 7. He had 15 children, the president with the most kids. There's a funny story about that I'll get into in a little bit. He opposed John Quincy Adams. And he, as I mentioned, he didn't believe in the nullification crisis. He didn't believe in the Missouri Compromise. He believed that states could join the United States, that you didn't have to worry about whether it's free, whether it's slave. Let's just let them join without going into this Missouri Compromise thing. He approved of Andrew Jackson. He did not approve of the National Bank. He approved of Andrew Jackson closing down that bank. Eventually, he became vice president. As I mentioned, William Henry Harrison died, and he becomes president. When he becomes president, the cabinet, he kept the cabinet that William Henry Harrison had. The cabinet walked in and approached him and said, you know, we're going to help you guide through the things that William Henry Harrison wanted to do. And John Tyler said, you know what, we're going to do the things that I want to do, and you're welcome to stay and help me, and if you don't, well, there's the door. Okay. Real quickly, while he was president, though, his wife, Letitia, after 30 years of marriage, died. About a year later, though, after mourning and so on and so forth, his son brought a girlfriend over. Now remember, in those days you didn't date, you courted girls. Even John Tyler, his first wife, when they met and he was courting her, he kissed her hand 1 week before the wedding. These people did not date and kiss, they courted. Well, anyway, his son was courting a young woman named Julia Gardner. And John Tyler got smitten with this young lady. And I don't know what he told his son, but he started courting Julia Gardner, who was 30 years younger than he was. He courted her, she was flattered. John Tyler became friends with her dad, and she kind of liked him. He's the president, she was flattered, but I don't know. Maybe the old man thing didn't kick in very well. However, one day, John Tyler invited Julia Gardner and her dad and some other people onto a naval ship. And on that naval ship, they were showing this new cannon. They were it's a new cannon they were experimenting with and so on. They were blasting cannonballs and all of that. And what happened? The cannon itself exploded. And it killed the Secretary of Navy, 3 other men, including Secretary of State also died, and including Julia's father. When she woke up, the president was carrying her off the ship. She was very, very sad, but she was very smitten suddenly from that point on, and she married John Tyler. And they had 7 kids. John Tyler had 15 kids in all. What's interesting is that his youngest child, when she died, it was already like 1940, you know? So what can I tell you? 150 years of history since he was born all the way to his youngest daughter had passed away. Now, as president, he was approached by the Whig Party. They wanted to reinstate the bank. He said he would not reinstate the bank. And what happened? His entire cabinet resigned. So he was left without a party, and now there was a stalemate. Nothing was getting done, nothing, because this man was so hard-headed. And there was a stalemate. Now, one thing he did do, he worked really hard to get Texas into the Union, to annex Texas into the United States. And he was able to do that and sign the document 3 days before he left the White House. So he said this was his greatest accomplishment. He died in 1862 while he was president. We had the telegraph. The Dominican Republic had their independence. The Three Musketeers was written by Alexander Dumas. Surgery with anesthetic was performed for the first time. But here's the question, was he a good president? A lot of historians say that he was a very resolute man, a very strong man, and therefore a man to be admired. Yes, I agree with that. However, nothing was getting done because this guy did not know how to play ball. He didn't work with Congress. He was like, my way or the highway. And they said, fine by you, fine by us, and nothing got done. My verdict on this man is he's a very strong-willed man, a very resolute man. It's admirable that he stuck to his guns, but at the same time, he was a lousy administrator and a very poor president. And that's my take on John Tyler. In the meantime, our next president, Zachary Taylor. Interesting. I'm telling you. And that's president number 11. But in the meantime, comment below. Better yet, subscribe. This is John Franquist. Thank you.